As Damien mentioned at the beginning, creators are a big priority for Twitter overall. So as a consequence of that, in 2015, Twitter acquired a company called Niche, which is a technology company which connects creators with brands. So what I thought I'd do today is talk you through a little bit about Niche, so a bit of context around the marketplace, so what's happening with creators, who are the companies that are sort of working around creators. I'll take you through how you would typically work with Niche and how you would partner with Twitter and Niche together, and then I'll take you through some examples and show you a little bit of how the technology works as well. So I guess the first question really is around the term creator. So the term creator, influencer are very much banded around the marketplace. So I guess the key difference between a creator and an influencer in terms of an example, I guess an influencer could really be a celebrity. So say that I'm David Beckham, I'm being endorsed by Nike, I'm just holding up a shoe saying, hey, buy my Nike shoe. That's kind of more influence. Creators are generally people who are creating a brand narrative through the content that they create, but they also have a large influence behind them. So that's kind of the key differentiator, and that's what Niche really focused on. It's very much a creator-first platform. So if we go back a little bit of time, you hark back to 2010, the creator space was really taking off. Bloggers who are writing blogs very much turned to YouTube to start creating vlogs as we know it. And around that emerged what are known as MCNs, or multi-channel networks. Now, multi-channel networks were helping creators monetize, providing content for YouTube. And the main monetization model back then was really just pre-rolls before the creator's content. So the creator would take a share of the revenue with Google. If you fast forward to 2013, the space expands a lot. You have the development really much of mobile-first content, so mobile-first video especially. If you think of Twitter as a platform, we really started to develop our mobile product, our mobile video product then. Instagram, Facebook, of course, the arrival of Vine as well, which Twitter launched, all provided another opportunity for creators to move into the short-form space. And this is where Niche came along. So the founder of Niche, my boss, Darren Lackman, was working across the YouTube space, and he saw an opportunity for creators to effectively monetize in a more organic way, creating brand narratives through the way that they created their own content on all of these mobile-first platforms. Of course, at that time, MCNs were still the big players in the marketplace. YouTube still very much taking up the core of the creator market. If we fast forward to 2016, however, the marketplace has expanded hugely. In addition to all the platforms that you just saw on the last slide, you have Periscope, as Antoine was just talking about, incredibly prolific in live video, creators very much turning for that around live events and launches, and then of course Snapchat as well is now a big creator platform. But around that, and I guess to similar styles of Niche, there's a ton of other platforms now. So you may have heard of some of these. I actually haven't made up some of these names. I won't call out the ones I haven't made out for obvious reasons, but safe to say there are lots in the marketplace at the moment, all doing very, very different things and working very differently to each other. So the marketplace is huge. 2016 is really the big year where creator marketing is starting to take off. So Niche, as I discussed, is a platform that connects creators with brands. There's a bunch of tools that we have, firstly for creators, and the company's mission is to actually help creators monetize and thrive. So one of the first things we did was provide the tools for creators to understand what is the performance of all of their channels. So as a creator, I would sign up to Niche, just like you'd sign up to Twitter. We would ask them to authenticate all of their accounts in one place. So imagine hooking up your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram, your Vine, and this will give them a bird's eye view of the performance of all of their channels in one place. And of course, being signed up to Niche, they are now eligible for brand campaigns, and this is the way that we discover them. And the way that we discover them, obviously being a technology platform, we have a directory where I will go in, or one of my colleagues will go in and have a look for the kind of creator that you might need. So if we take the example of Vine here, so the arrow will soon move over to Vine. I can click on Vine in the top left-hand corner, and then it'll filter it by all of the creators on Vine. If I want to look for a specific creator, for example, by location, I can also do that. I can look for somebody in Paris. I can look for somebody in Bordeaux if I wanted to. And then I can also search by name, gender, all the different interests, and it allows me to filter even further on. There are a bunch of other variables that you can look at as well. I can look at all of the campaign data. I can look at the amount of followers that each of these creators has on the platform. I can then go in and look at how many followers you want of a specific creator, and we can drill down by that figure as well. So how would you typically partner with Niche? It's a fairly simple process. If you've ever worked with the Twitter brand strategy team here, very, very similar. What you would do is obviously give us a brief. We would interpret that brief, and we would come back to you with a couple of creative ideas that we think we can launch for you. The second thing to do would be obviously identify the talent that we think would be useful for that particular brief. We would send that to you, and if you are happy and wanted to proceed, we take care of all of the hard work in terms of talent contracting. So we work with the creators to contract them for a particular project. We then do a co-briefing with you to the creators on around the content development. And then once the content development is done, that would then be set to launch whenever you wanted it to launch. So you set the date that it would be delivered on their channels organically. You can obviously take that content as well. You can promote it on Twitter. And of course, everything is measured in real time. And this is just a snapshot example of what the real-time analytics look like. So there is a dashboard that exists which measures all of the metrics that you might get on all of the social platforms. So things such as actions, likes, commentary. We can look at reach. We can look at views. And as you scroll down this page, although it's not visible here, you'll have each piece of content laid out. You'll be able to filter by creator, by platform, by date. You'll be able to download all of the data. You'll be able to PDF a full report with all of the analytics. So the big difference here is really the technology. The differentiator for Niche is the technology. It enables you to have all the data in one place. We're not taking screenshots of creators' analytics and sending them through to you in screen grabs. It's all in one place, all centralized. So that comes on to, I guess, really why Niche. The first thing, I guess, is the community. So we have 31,000 creators globally, so a huge community around the world. Secondly, we're cross-platform, so even though we're a Twitter-owned and operated property, we can execute social campaigns and content across multiple channels and platforms for you. Thirdly, being part of Twitter, Niche content tends to power a lot of the creative formats that have been discussed today, so you can take that creator content that you're using, whitelisted on Twitter, use it in products such as First View, promoted trends, promoted moments. And secondly, of course, being part of Twitter, we now have access to Twitter's research team, which means we can do full measurement on the performance of all of these campaigns. And lastly, as I've emphasized quite a bit, the key differentiator is really the technology. So the ability for creators to receive briefs online through the platform, the ability for us to search for creators through a large database, using the platform's technology, and of course, all the measurement and the analytics. So we've run a great deal of campaigns to date, a huge amount since we've been acquired by Twitter. I'll take you through a few examples of the kind of work we've done. So the first example here is from Starbucks. The brief was very simple. They were lacking social content for their channels. They wanted to launch the new Red Cups before last Christmas, and they asked us to come back with a couple of recommendations of what we could do. Our recommendation was to use short form content, specifically around Vine. They wanted something that would really focus on the brand and bring the brand to the fore, so we created these examples here. Next example here, slightly different brand. This is from Adidas. So the brief from them was to take photographers into sort of edgy and urban parts of London and effectively capture their new shoe. They were launching a new shoe. So we sent a couple of guys out into an area called Shoreditch in London. They took a bunch of photographs, like a whole ton. The one on the left is just a really nice example. And what they did at the end of the day is they created a compilation of all of the shots and compiled it into one ad, which is as follows. Greece, I think. A big example from the US, this is probably one of the biggest campaigns that Niche has run to date. I'm not sure if you've heard of fluid viewing or whether it's come to France, but effectively the objective here was to communicate to a 16 to 34-year-old audience that when you finish watching something on television, you can then watch it on your mobile device, for example, if you're on your way to work or you're on your way to town. And what they wanted to do was highlight the features of the Comcast X1 box and the ability to do that on the go. So this is quite an ambitious program that we run. We had 19 creators. We created 97 pieces of content in 2 weeks. So a very, very busy team. And the results were fantastic. These are a couple of examples that we have. So we contracted probably some of the biggest personality creators that existed in the US. I'm sure some of you will be well aware of the creator on the right-hand side.
I love scary movies.
No! Sorry.
Oh, guys, game's already on. Let's throw it on the big screen. Andrew, help me make some popcorn. Sure.
Good story there. That was actually filmed in my colleague's apartment. His girlfriend comes home and goes, "Why is there popcorn all over my house?" It was an interesting conversation. Last but not least, this is an example from our Brazil office. So the challenge here was to highlight the fact that the new aluminum bottles from Coca-Cola were being launched in Marketplace. Again, a very simple brief. They just wanted us to show through short-form content how we could bring that to life. This is one of my favorites. Anyone want to guess how long that took him to do? 2 weeks. 2 weeks for 6 seconds. So he hand-painted the whole thing. So we also released some research from Twitter which talked about the value of influencers within marketing programs. And I think one of the most important stats here is that half of users on Twitter, as well as looking for recommendations from friends, are also looking for recommendations from influencers or creators. And secondly, another really important stat is that when you combine both brand tweets with creator-based tweets, you get a purchase intent uplift of 5.2 versus 2.7 alone with just brand tweets. So this stuff does actually work. We ran this research with Omnicom Media Group, and we can happily share some more stats on it if it's of interest. Around promoted tweets, so a lot of clients come to us and ask us how can we use the niche content and promote it on Twitter. We ran some research last year along 2015, and we compared the effectiveness of using niche content in promoted tweets versus a brand's ordinary content. And what we had here was the results were quite astounding. So the engagement rates on promoted tweets went up by 70%. That, of course, had a huge impact on cost efficiency, so driving down costs by 60%. And we also saw a huge lift, just over 50% in brand lift. So that's all, folks. Merci beaucoup. And I'll pass you on to Matteo.